9/11 Commission Report, Chapter 2.2, Bin Laden's Appeal in the Islamic World. It is the story of eccentric and violent ideas sprouting in the fertile ground of political and social turmoil. It is the story of an organization poised to seize its historical moment. How did Bin Laden, with his call for the indiscriminate killing of Americans, win thousands of followers and some degree of approval from millions more? The history, culture, and body of beliefs from which Bin Laden has shaped and spread his message are largely unknown to many Americans. Seizing on symbols of Islam's past greatness, he promises to restore pride to people who consider themselves the victims of successive foreign masters. He uses cultural and religious allusions to the Holy Quran and some of its interpreters. He appeals to people disoriented by cyclonic change as they confront modernity and globalization. His rhetoric selectively draws from multiple sources: Islam, history, and the region's political and economic malaise. He also stresses grievances against the United States widely shared in the Muslim world. He invited against the presence of U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia, the home of Islam's holiest sites. He spoke of the suffering of the Iraqi people as a result of sanctions imposed after the Gulf War, and he protested U.S. support of Israel. Islam, a word that literally means surrender to the will of God, arose in Arabia with what Muslims believe are a series of revelations to the Prophet Muhammad from the one and only God, the God of Abraham and of Jesus. These revelations, conveyed by the angel Gabriel, are recorded in the Quran. Muslims believe that these revelations, given to the greatest and last in the chain of prophets stretching from Abraham through Jesus, complete God's message to humanity. The Hadith, which recount Muhammad's sayings and deeds as reported by his contemporaries, are another fundamental source. A third key element is the Sharia, a code of law derived from the Quran and the Hadith. Islam is divided into two branches, Sunni and Shia. Soon after the Prophet's death, the question of choosing a new leader, or caliph, for the Muslim community, or ummah, arose. Initially, his successors could be drawn from the Prophet's contemporaries, but with time, this was no longer possible. Those who became the Shia held that any leader of the ummah must be a direct descendant of the Prophet. Those who became Sunni argued that lineal descent was not required if the candidate met other standards of faith and knowledge. After bloody struggles, the Sunni became and remained the majority sect. The Shia are dominant in Iran. The Caliphate, the institutionalized leadership of the ummah, thus was a Sunni institution that continued until 1924, first under Arab and eventually under Ottoman Turkish control. Many Muslims look back at the century after the revelations to the Prophet Muhammad as a golden age. Its memory is strongest among the Arabs. What happened then, the spread of Islam from the Arabian Peninsula throughout the Middle East, North Africa, and even into Europe, within less than a century, seemed and seems miraculous. Nostalgia for Islam's past glory remains a powerful force. Islam is both a faith and a code of conduct for all aspects of life. For many Muslims, good government would be one guided by the moral principles of their faith. This does not necessarily translate into a desire for clerical rule and the abolition of a secular state. It does mean that some Muslims tend to be uncomfortable with the distinction between religion and state, though Muslim rulers throughout history have readily separated the two. To extremists, however, such divisions, as well as the existence of parliament and legislation, only prove these rulers to be false Muslims, usurping God's authority over all aspects of life. Periodically, the Islamic world has seen surges of what's a better term, is often labeled fundamentalism, denouncing waywardness among the faithful. Some clerics have appealed for a return to observance of the literal teachings of the Quran and the Hadith. One scholar from the 14th century, for whom Bin Laden selectively quotes, Ibn Taymiyyah, condemned both corrupt rulers and the clerics who failed to criticize them. He urged Muslims to read the Quran and the Hadith for themselves, not depend solely on learned interpreters like himself, but to hold one another to account for the quality of their observance. The extreme Islamic version of history blames the decline from Islam's golden age on the rulers and people who turned away from the true path of their religion, thereby leaving Islam vulnerable to encroaching foreign powers eager to steal their land, wealth, and even their souls.